to this card here. And this one, we're not actually going to be using the water brush to do any watercoloring. We're going to be doing a faux watercolor technique. And we're going to be doing it with some Tombow markers on a silhouette stamp. And this particular technique works best on a silhouette stamp. The Tombow markers are a dye-based marker, so they work perfectly for this technique because we're going to, once we've colored this entire image, we are going to use a misting bottle to mist water to rehydrate all the ink that we have colored. I'm just going to leave my cap off there for a second. And we got some red for the berries. And you do want to be fairly careful with your markers when you're coloring this. You don't want to be rough with them because you can start damaging your markers if you're super rough with them. You don't need to necessarily do this quickly because we are using the water to rehydrate the ink, so you don't need to worry about the pen drying. It will dry as you're coloring. It will dry, so there's no need to worry about it doing it. It's going to, but we have misting water that we are going to use to rehydrate all the ink, so there's no need to rush. And I've chosen a fairly simple image for this. We're only using 4 different colors. You can choose a stamp that's as simple or as complex as you like, but I would suggest when you're starting out to start out with something simple. It's much easier to go and make it a little bit more elaborate once you've started out with something simple and you understand the technique. So we've got this all colored. I'm simply gonna mist. That particular one I did 3 times. I want to make sure that the stamp is completely covered with water. It doesn't need to be flowing off, but it does need to be covered with water because it's going to hydrate all that ink. Now I do have some ink still on there, so I'm going to do a second stamp. And then I'm going to do a 3rd stamp here. There we go. So now we need to let that dry completely before we can continue on with the rest of the card. What we'll do next is we'll do the stamping and we'll do the inking and stuff like that around the edges, but this needs to be completely dry. And it's not going to take too long, but we can't do the rest of it while this is still wet. We're going to smear it if we do. So I'll see you in the next video where we're going to complete our card.